Hey everybody, Stacy here. It is Arbor Day, and how great is it that we have a holiday to celebrate trees, which are one of my very favorite things. So, thinking about trees and nature and spirituality, I'm curious about that. So, I asked some of my friends about that, and here's Zamira and Simon.
Hello, this is Reverend Zamira, and I'm here with Reverend Simon, who heads up our Sacred Earth ministry here at Mile High. And today we are going to talk about Arbor Day and how it's related to the golden thread of truth. So, welcome, Reverend Simon.
Well, thank you. Nice to be here.
And I'm just wondering, what is Arbor Day?
Well, so Arbor Day was started back in April of 1872. In fact, the first Arbor Day happened in Nebraska on April 10th. It was started by a man named Julius Sterling Morgan. He was a homesteader who'd come out from back east, and originally when he moved out into Nebraska, he and his wife had, I think it was 160 acres for their homestead, but there were no trees on them. And for whatever reason, whatever it was within him, he started planting trees, and it just became a huge passion for him. And so he instigated this idea of Arbor Day, which after a few years became a Nebraska state holiday, and then it spread to other states. But really the idea of it was the importance of trees in particular, as well as connecting with nature and just bringing that forth consciously. So that's kind of the initial idea of Arbor Day, was planting of trees.
Awesome. So it's a day to plant a tree. Well, I just love that. You know, one of the things that I've also been reading about is a spiritual practice that's related to trees and being in the trees. And it's known as forest bathing. Can you tell us a little bit about forest bathing? Like, what is it, and how could I use it as a spiritual practice?
Well, definitely. Forest bathing was popularized from a Japanese practice in the 1980s, and perhaps this was happening way before then, but this is when it sort of caught on, called Shinrin-yoku. And Shinrin means forest, yoku means bath. And you're not actually bathing in the forest, literally, but you're going out into the forest, or really any natural area, and you're being very present. You're being bathed with the energy and the essence there. So it can be somewhat of a structured practice. I mean, there are people who are trained as forest bathing guides, but by no means does it have to. You can simply take some time consciously, mindfully, intentionally, go out in a nearby wilderness area or place that where you feel like you're in the presence of nature, and be very intentional about being present, taking it all in, taking in the sights, the sounds, the feeling, simply being very mindful in a natural setting.
So it sounds like anybody could do this.
Totally.
You could go if you're an adult, if you're a kid, if you're a family, anybody could.
Totally. And, would it be wonderful to drive up into the foothills and go into the mountains? Sure, absolutely. But you wouldn't have to. I mean, you could go to a nearby park. Heck, if your backyard or front yard, was a good natural setting for you, you could simply go out into your yard and simply be present. Lay on the grass. What does it feel like to lay on the grass? What does it smell like? I imagine we've all smelled grass after it's rained or after it's been cut. To really take that in. Notice if you have trees in your yard, notice the trees, notice the way the leaves are moving, notice the way the light plays through them, and simply be present with all of that.
That feels so nice. I look forward to trying that out. A couple questions come to mind. Like, if I was going to go and forest bathe, should I keep my eyes shut, or is there anything around like how I should be doing it? How long I should stay there?
Well, I'm going to say yes and no. So on one hand, no. Just do whatever. If you can do 5 minutes, awesome. If you spend an entire day, awesome. There is sort of and then the yes to that question is there is a general guideline of, going out and for a couple of hours, 2 hours, working up to that if that's something that you need to work up to. But again, it's really not a huge deal. Whatever time you can spend in nature is going to be time well spent. As far as whether you keep your eyes are open or not, again, on one hand, do whatever feels appropriate to you. But the recommendation is that you do keep your eyes open because we are visual creatures, visual people. I've heard it said that we get like 70% of our data visually. So see the colors, see the movement, see the sunlight playing on the different objects, the trees, the rocks, see how the shadows shift and move, and simply be open to taking in, to being present with your environment visually. So I would recommend keeping your eyes open.
Awesome. Well, those are great recommendations, and I really am looking forward to trying it. Throughout our podcasts here, we've been talking about the golden thread of truth. And so connecting with nature is related to the golden thread of truth. And so I'm just wondering how you see that, how you make that connection and the golden thread of truth, meaning that we all connect to God in different ways. How is nature related to that?
Well, it reminds me, of course, many faith traditions, many faith paths will have some element of connecting with nature, will have some view of how they perceive humans' relationship to nature. In particular, what stands out for me in this moment is, the Sufi path that was brought to the U.S. by Hazrat Inayat Khan. In that lineage, nature is actually seen as a sacred manuscript, the only manuscript that was written directly by the hand of God. So I love that, in that, we come from the earth. I know it can be easy to forget about that when we live in our concrete buildings and we drive around in our metal cars on asphalt roads. But, we used to be a tribal people living in caves and forests and drinking water directly from streams and lakes. And in some ways, with all our evolution and all of the amazing changes and things we've done, we haven't changed. We are still part of the earth, part of the natural world. So you really can't get much more golden truth than that. I mean, the earth, nature is the foundation that we walk on and that we live. And I guess one thing I would wish for families and children who might hear this is, you get your food from the grocery store. Awesome. But do you know where those things come from? If you can't plant a tree this year, because, tree, that's a big investment. That's a long time frame and a big investment. Plant a garden. Plant some flowers, get your hands dirty in the soil, feel the cold water as you water the plants. The delight in a child's eyes when you plant this tiny seed and then you see what comes from it, and especially if it's, vegetables or fruit, like a fruit tree or grapes or honeyberries or whatever, then to actually taste the harvest, oh man, that's a full body experience that I think it's so important to reconnect us with our roots when there is so much in our lives which is otherwise trying to push us away from that. So that would be my final words of encouragement.
Oh, I love that. We're going away today with just so many ideas for celebrating Arbor Day. We're going to either plant a tree, we're going to plant a seed, and we're just going to be mindful, maybe just be in nature. And just thank you, Reverend Simon, because I'm looking forward to planting something myself and seeing it grow. So we wish all of you a happy Arbor Day this year and lots of blessed time in nature. Thanks for joining us.
Take care.
Hey, friends, thanks so much for taking some time to share, and thank you for listening. I am always so grateful when we get to spend time together. Until next time.